welcome to this explainer. Okay, let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever looked at a company in, say, logistics, or maybe insurance, or B2B accounting, and thought, wow, there is absolutely nothing exciting to say about that? Well, today, we are going to completely shatter that illusion. Because those exact industries, the ones that operate quietly in the background, the ones people tend to just ignore, they're actually the ones quietly shaping how the entire world works.
Let me say something a bit controversial, especially if you're a founder or working in public relations. There is literally no such thing as a boring company. There's only boring positioning. If you're watching this, your job isn't to just report dry facts. Your job is to make people care. And if people are scrolling right past your updates, it's simply because you haven't given them a compelling reason to stop. You haven't made your brand culturally important. So today, we're going to change that. Okay, let's dive into this playbook. Here are the exact steps we're going to cover. 1, the real problem. 2, finding your cultural tension. 3, crafting an opinionated viewpoint. 4, hijacking the conversation. 5, showing the humans. And finally, 6, why consistency beats virality. All right, let's jump right into step 1. The real problem. Why nobody actually cares about your company updates. Look, if your company feels boring to the outside world, you actually have a narrative problem, not a PR problem. Most PR teams mistakenly focus heavily on features, services, and these minor product updates. And let me be perfectly blunt here. Nobody cares. Culture doesn't move because of what your company does. It moves because of what your company means. Think about it. People actually share ideas, beliefs, and stories that resonate with their own personal identity. So if your PR strategy lives entirely in the world of product features, you're inherently going to be ignored. Which brings us to step 2. Find your cultural tension, tapping into something significantly bigger.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is understanding that culturally relevant brands never talk about themselves in a vacuum. Instead, they tap into cultural tension. So what is that? It's a larger societal debate or a major shift in how people think that a company just naturally connects to. Hunting for this tension, actually, scratch that, it's more like hunting for the friction in society, is your PR team's absolute primary job. You need to ask yourself, what is the big, unspoken problem or changing paradigm that your product or service ultimately solves?
And to find that tension, you just need this one simple formula. It's literally the secret sauce. Industry topic plus human emotion equals a cultural story. This exact equation is how you move your brand from being just another basic service provider to an active participant in a global conversation. You absolutely cannot just have the industry topic. You have to inject the very real, very raw human emotions surrounding it. Let's apply that formula to something like an elder care company. The boring, standard approach strictly highlights things like elder care services, facilities, and medical staff. Right? It's safe corporate speak. But when you inject human emotion, you start talking about aging with dignity. You talk about the battle for independence versus institutional care, and the immense emotional and financial toll of caregiving on families. Suddenly, you aren't just selling a bed in a facility. You are deeply embedded in a human-centered narrative that people actually desperately want to read and share. Moving on to step 3, craft an opinionated viewpoint, because silence is your real enemy here. I need to warn you right now, playing it safe is a guaranteed way to disappear completely. Spouting these polished commitments about your dedication to excellence is basically the fastest way to make your audience fall asleep. Saying something like, "We provide financial planning services," is totally forgettable and invisible. But what if you confidently said, "The retirement system is fundamentally broken, and most people don't realize it until it's too late." Boom, that is a real game changer. Culturally important companies take a clear, sharp stand. They make people react. People will either emphatically agree with you or they'll angrily disagree, but either way, you have their absolute attention. Let's move to step 4 and see how this builds. Hijack the conversation, turning those bold insights into real cultural moments. Because having an opinion really isn't enough if nobody actually hears it, right? So here are 3 highly effective ways to turn your insights into cultural moments. Step 1. Use data with a narrative. Never, ever just drop a dry statistic. Frame it so it tells a compelling story. Step 2. Pitch contrarian takes. Say out loud what others in your industry are just too afraid to say. Tell the public why conventional wisdom is entirely wrong. And step 3. Use relatable storytelling. Real stories of struggle and triumph will always beat perfectly polished marketing copy. Why? Because people connect with human experiences, not faceless companies. And this brilliantly illustrates that point. Imagine you have a dry statistic showing 72% of caregivers feel financially unprepared. If you just tweet that out, nobody engages. But if you aggressively reframe it with a narrative, you say something like, caregiving is quietly becoming a massive financial crisis for the middle class. See the difference? You take the data and you give it teeth. You make it urgent. And the absolute best part is you don't even have to manufacture this culture from thin air. You just need to strategically plug your company into where the culture is already happening. Your PR team should be obsessively looking at trending news stories. They need to be monitoring the heated debates happening right now on LinkedIn. They should be tracking the exact topics journalists are already hungry to cover. If there's a massive conversation happening about the aging population and you're in elder care, you insert your sharp, opinionated viewpoint right into that existing spotlight. Step 5. Show the humans. This is all about building true authority and relatability. So a bold, culturally relevant brand voice simply cannot come from a faceless corporate entity. Why? Because absolutely nobody trusts a logo. You have to stop hiding behind your rigid branding guidelines and bring the real people to the forefront. Put your founder on camera. Elevate your internal subject matter experts to write thought-provoking pieces. Show the real, messy, incredibly passionate humans working behind the scenes. When these people share their authentic opinions, when they react to industry trends and tell their personal stories, they build massive authority and deep relatability at the exact same time. Which brings us to our final step, Section 6. Consistency beats virality, shifting perception over time. So the crucial point here is everyone working in marketing and PR is completely obsessed with going viral overnight, right? Always waiting for that one magical post that changes everything. But true cultural relevance is not built in a day. The magic number is 50. You do not need one big hit. You need 50 small signals. You need to show up consistently, repeating your core ideas, hammering home your opinionated viewpoint over and over and over again. It is that steady drumbeat of a clear, strong message 50 times across different platforms and mediums that actually shifts public perception for good. Because at the end of the day, modern PR is no longer about mere visibility. Just being seen means literally nothing if you're instantly forgotten. A quote-unquote boring company only becomes important when it connects to genuine human conversations, takes a firm stand, and shows up constantly. Relevance is what gets remembered. So I want to leave you with a direct challenge as we wrap up this explainer. Look at your own positioning today. Look at your own messaging. What is the cultural conversation your brand is currently hiding from? Go find that tension, craft your opinion, and start making people care. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you're ready to put this playbook to work.